Thank you. Welcome. I'm Father Mitch Pacwa, and welcome to EWTN Live. Tonight, we'll be talking about truth, because we're for it, and faith and reason with accomplished physicist and Thomistic philosopher, Dr. Anthony Rizzi. But before we do that, we want to hear from the host of EWTN's In Concert program. We'll hear from Dr. Jacqueline Leary-Warsaw about some new musical offerings for our EWTN audience. Jackie, what do you have coming up for us?
Hello, Father Mitch. We are so very excited to present another season of In Concert. You know, we've been on the air for 27 years. So for almost 3 decades, we've featured some of the world's finest musicians in performances from churches, cathedrals, and concert halls all around the world. This season promises to be just as exciting, with concerts from Paris, Vienna, Rome, Prague, even the Esterházy Castle in Austria. With sacred music concerts from all over the world, we show how music really is the one true international language. Here's a look at some of the wonderful performances we have in store for you. We hope you'll join us for all of this and so much more. And thanks to all of you for your continued support of this program as we strive to bring our audience closer to God through the beauty and power of music. Father Mitch, it's great to be with you again here on EWTN Live. Hope to see you in person real soon. Bye now.
Thanks, Jackie. Appreciate that. You know, at a time we don't have a lot of beauty in the arts, to have this made available and to nourish our souls, this is terrific. So be sure to tune in to this new season of In Concert. Go to EWTN.com for airtimes and more information. Now, I would like to move to tonight's guest. He's an acclaimed physicist and a Thomistic philosopher who's written on a number of things, from electricity, magnetism, quantum mechanics, to the physics of First Holy Communion. And he's the author of the book, The Science Before Science, A Guide to Thinking in the 21st Century. He'll be featured in an upcoming EWTN show called The Case for Truth. So please welcome Dr. Anthony Rizzi.
Good to see you, Tony.
Dr. Rizzi, good to have you here.
Yeah.
You know, I see you brought a baseball in
a baseball
mitt. A mitt.
Yeah. I did.
What? Are we changing subjects?
No, we're not saying. Well, you know, I'm very interested, as you know, in gravity waves.
Yes.
And so I thought we'd generate some gravity waves with the baseball.
Okay.
Which you can do if you accelerate the baseball.
Uh-huh.
You know, I was part of the project that won the Nobel Prize in the gravity waves. And so I thought I'd extend it a little bit. I don't think we're going to be able to detect it, but I thought, you know, the book.
So you want to go from Nobel Prize over to one of the baseball awards?
No.
Hall of Fame?
Maybe we can succeed in me throwing the baseball to you. Maybe we can't. But more seriously, the book has a baseball theme.
Okay.
The Kid's Introduction to Physics book has a baseball theme. And
this is something that is important, that a lot of folks don't understand. Folks are introducing children to sports. This is very, very wonderful.
Yeah.
But to introduce children to physics is not always the first thing people think of. Why would you, again, I used to play baseball every day. Been a long time, but I used to do it every day. Now, why would you introduce somebody to physics?
Well, you know, we have the Kid's Introduction to Physics 1, the book, which is the one we talked about before. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because that's the first thing you know, is the physical world.
Right.
The things you see are the first things you know. You know, when you first are born, even before that, you don't know there's God. You don't even know there's a self. You just know the physical world. And you have to then prove the existence of God. Yeah, you don't know that there's non-physical things.
You'd be able to say that a newborn baby doesn't know that the people holding him might be his parents or her parents.
No, because he doesn't know what parents are. He doesn't know what people are.
But he
just knows
what
physics. He knows touch. He knows what he touches. He knows what he sees. And those are physical things. And he knows confusedly what a physical thing is, which is what's in the book. It tells you, you know, what a physical thing is. And, you know, we have to be careful because, you know, we don't want to come across as arrogant. And if we claim to talk about the God who is this mighty God that we do have, and we don't know what a physical thing is, what are people going to think of us?
Yeah.
So we need to know what a physical thing is. And a physical thing is something that can become something else. Mm-hmm. And it's through that. In the first book, we show that basically, you know, how baseballs do what they do. Let me try this, if you're okay with it.
Yeah.
There you go. He was afraid of that, but I think he's a better baseball player than he admits. But the thing is we have to ask the question, how did it do that? How did it get from here to there? And that's a causal question. And we have to ask, you know, how do things happen? And things don't happen because of no reason. They happen for a reason. In this case, you have to learn about impetus. And that is that I've given, through a force that I apply with my hand, I've given that ball impetus. Mm-hmm. And that carries the ball in a straight line at a constant speed, except for gravity, to you. And so that's kind of, in the first book, we talk about those things at a very simple level, you know, in which you can actually teach your 5-year-old, which I've done with my own children. And anybody, and lots of people have done it with them.
I've met his children, and he has taught them these things.
That's that, and they use it, and it's part of your life, because it's from those things that you, like I say, you know the existence of God, you know what He is and who He is. But then you have to move a little further, and that's what's done in the second book, is to talk about more of what we've learned through modern physics, but in a simple way that you can do if you start at the basic principle level of what you actually see. You know, we have like the idea of things existing, which, believe it or not, a lot of people call into question today.
Well, that's why this is so important. You have people calling the obvious things around them into question. In this sense, they are not sure that what they see really exists.
Yeah, I mean, it is something that people have to realize, that their children are not being taught the basics that they need to live their lives. And this is the physics. You know, people don't know that there's a science before you do anything else, which is called physics. You know, people think of those equations and all that hard stuff, which is nice and good, but it's not what we're talking about. Talking about something really very simple that you can explain, but people are not aware. You know, you don't go around asking people, do you think the world exists? You know, it's not a question. It's not a party question. But I tell you, my daughter, who's a college student, freshman college student, was at a Catholic, on-campus Catholic, like Newman Center, with many kids around. And they started this thing, I'm not sure quite how it got started, but they were saying, asking each other, do we know the world exists? And none of them, except for my daughter, held that they could know that the world existed. They thought that they had to have that on faith.
Yeah, see, this is something that is very important to pay attention to. That it's what these kids are being taught. I suspect that their instinct growing up was, the baseball just landed in my hand, and I just tossed it back to the other hand. That happened.
Yeah.
And they had to be taught to question that what they experience as concrete things really exists.
Right, and that's what's happening. Is it's not like somebody comes up, did you know that things don't exist? But all the different things you hear, the basic understanding of our culture, which is in the physics, and how we understand the physical world, is an equational understanding. And that equational understanding...
What do you mean by equational understanding?
So equational understanding means, for a physicist, when we're talking about the physical world, we come to not what is it, like many philosophers would say, or why is it, like they'll say that it doesn't do. We don't come to any of that. We come to an equation. So we have F equals ma, or in general relativity, G mu nu equals T mu nu. We have an equation. So that is the center. That's when I say equation alone, because this is really this is the stopping point. When we have an equation that will predict experiments, we're done. And so even if we can't say in any kind of first principled way what things are, like what causes motion, we leave it aside. And that's in everything we think. It affects our literature, it affects our art, our music, it affects the way we think about psychology, sociology. Every field is damaged by not having that proper physics. So every single one of us is damaged by not having been taught. And this is what happens, is it fills the environment. The way we choose to do this little thing, doing it this way as opposed to that thing, teaches our children the world isn't real. And it's all in 1,000 subtle ways that this happens. And this is what we're facing, is that people, older people, got the different formation from the older culture. And they're not realizing that their children didn't get that formation. So,
and one of the ways in which this shows up, I saw it in a commercial recently being addressed, is that when I was born, they told my father, it's a boy. Today, they say, we assign him to be a boy.
Yeah.
This is his assigned gender.
Right, yeah.
And the reason I say, well, it's what as if the doctor says it, that's what makes that designation. And if the person later on says, no, that's not my gender.
Yeah.
Despite, say, the way that the relationship of the X and Y chromosomes will be in a boy or a girl, that doesn't matter. They think of this as assigned, therefore not real, and then I can make up what I want with it.
Yeah, and that's a more obvious way that it appears, but it usually appears in most of our audience is not going to be in that class of people. It appears in much more subtle ways in everybody's lives. Sure. We all say things that are against reason, not because we want to, not because we have the will to, but because we haven't been taught. And so until we can get that right thinking, we are going to be susceptible to that, and our children are going to pick it up. Even young adults, this is not an isolated phenomenon. My son says the same thing that happens at his school. Every college student I talk to, there is this strong presence, and people don't know about it because they don't talk at this level. They don't talk at, older people just think, well, everyone knows the world exists, so they're not going to ask, do you think the world exists? Right. Or do you know the world exists?
So what are you doing to teach folks how to recognize that the world exists so that you can then move to believe in God? To know God, to know that God exists. What do you do to teach them, first of all, that the physical world exists? What's the point of this book?
So the whole point is that we all have this failing in ourselves, and we have to correct it. And the way to do it is to study, learn the material, because we've been given the culture K through 12 and earlier, and we need to bring the right thinking very early in our ages of our children. And that's what the Kids' Introduction to Physics is. It starts off when a child asks these questions when young, the adult has to be able to answer them. And if he doesn't, the culture will answer him for him, and he has to be able to clearly articulate it, and that's what the books do for the children. But through your children, you'll get it too, because children, to be honest, children are quicker at these things than us because they have an openness that many of us have lost.
And they don't need to unlearn.
They don't need to unlearn
bad habits. So what do you teach them then, concretely?
So in the book, we go through the very beginning things of what you know that there's physical things, walk through the basic physics that we've discovered through the great scientific method without having to use these horrendous equations that are hard for people to get. They're wonderful, but they're too much for children and most adults at this point. So we go through very simply and show how you walk up to the proofs of the existence of God. You prove actually this book at the end proves with the physics you learned, it shows you that you know with absolute certainty that God exists, who he is, and that he's a God of love. Mm-hmm. And in the second book, we go further so that when the new physics has taught you that you know what it means, your child is armed against the false teaching, and he can begin to have a platform to think from. So in this book, believe it or not, we talk about electricity and magnetism and quantum mechanics, but it's at a 6th grade level where kids just eat it up.
Okay.
And we
show us how you go through this. What was the basic approach?
So the basic approach is just to always start with what you see. Okay. So for example, when talking about electricity, we have the kids hook up a wire and then send electricity through it. And then we have a screen of a motor that the child actually gets to make. I don't know if you can put it up on screen now, but there's a motor that's very simple to make. It just requires a few safety pins and some wire and a magnet. And then you can actually go on the web. And the thing they're going to show you on the screen is on the web. And you can go to iapweb.org and you can see this motor moving. And your kid can make this motor, and he can learn how he can see how the wire is causing something. Here it is on screen now. He can see how the wire is causing something in the air, if you will, what we call plana, which is the stuff between molecules. Mm-hmm. The plana is that material that people haven't given a name, that physical thing that's between the molecules, and that, in physicists, we call it fields, but they're basically a quality, a power that the wire puts in there that can move things, can cause impetus in things, can make things move, and that's what you're seeing here. And we walk the student through this very carefully, and we explain to them, you know, very simple things like how substance comes into your language. Like, for example, you'll say, that's a substantial argument. Well, if you don't know what a substance is, that wording doesn't mean anything to you. And substance comes from physics. And our physics is damaged, and we don't know those words. We treat things as things to be used, not things to be understood. Mm-hmm. And this walks the student, and that includes you and I, but the child, the sixth grade level child, goes through the material, and he learns these step by step. And he learns things like, for example, very simple, what we call final causal questions, like why do things do what they do? Why are things the way they are? So you learn, for example, there's positive and negative charges. Why are there positive and negative charges? Because things have to come together to make stuff. You know, if our bodies didn't hold together, we'd fly apart. So there's positive and negative charges, but then any child's going to ask you, well, why don't they just crush into each other? Well, the answer to that is quantum mechanics. The planet has another set of powers called the quantum mechanical powers that keep the positive and negative charge in a stable relationship so you can have stable bodies. And all this just brings home the order of creation, the specific order of creation, and how things are made for a reason.
I had two roommates in graduate school who were medical students, also at Vanderbilt Medical School. And one of the difficulties they came across was their professors would indoctrinate them to deny that there is a purpose to the way the body works. They would simply want to describe, okay, this is what happens. And yet, both of them would have wonderful discussions when they weren't studying, were amazed at, say, the process of human gestation, the process of going from being conceived to being born. And this series of mechanisms within that triggers that are so complicated and we don't think about. We were born before we could realize these existed, and they would have professors say, but there's no purpose to it. Right. And you say, something that works so intricately well, and there's no purpose. This had to be indoctrinated into them because it wasn't at all, it was obvious that there was purpose. And to see this kind of, these causes for the things around us is a very important part of learning logic.
Right, but I mean, so again, that's more of an example of a blatant ideological press, right? And what we're talking about here, what I'm trying to talk about here is something much more subtle. It's in all of us. I mean, we tend to think that things are mechanisms. We even talk that language. When you were just saying it, you were using the language of mechanism.
Which was the language that they
Which is the language they
passed on, yeah.
And that's what the subtle thing is we think of things as mechanisms, and we think that mechanisms have purpose in them. And that's false. Mechanisms have purposes in our mind, but there's no purpose in the mechanism itself. So if the human body is simply a mechanism, say like my cell phone, then it's not. There's no purpose in it. I can assign purpose to it, but that is the way we think. We tend to think of assigned understandings of things, that there is no principle in the thing, and what the physics teaches you is to see what you actually see with your eyes, the principles, not just the you know, when I see the blue in this book, right? When I see the blue in this book, I'm seeing the principle of blueness in that book, in the physicality of this color, of this paint. I'm seeing the blueness, and I see that directly. It's a principle in the thing that I see. And when you're doing the basic physics, that's the way it works. You're seeing the essence, the substance of a thing, that is the nature, the principles in the thing, not how I use it, not how it functions. And as long as we think of the body and other things as functions, and not essences that our intellect probes and understands, then we're in the cultural mindset that comes from the what I call the equation alone physics. That we don't see the essences of things, and that's what the books teach you. They teach you to undo, if you're a child, to do it right, to understand how to look and be receptive. You know, our proper role as men is more of a more feminine, receptive role, and that is openness to reality, to be open to reality. Reality impresses on us. We don't impress on it. And that's what the book teaches you, is that you can access reality and be formed by it, rather than always having to go and hammer it and make it into what you want.
Yeah. I think that a lot of folks are using ideologies to treat reality like silly putty, that they can make it any shape they want and do with it what they want and make it by their own image. And if I'm not happy with what I see, I'll just change it like silly putty.
Yeah.
Instead of realizing this is what is there.
Right.
And you accept the reality, the concrete, specific thing that's there.
Right.
And from that, as you accept the reality, I reminded of a statement made by a priest friend of mine, back in the 70s, that reality is God's greatest ally. You know, that you don't need to make believe. It's not healthy. You deal with reality and point to it.
But and that reality is available by the wonder of our minds that God has given us to penetrate into the and become, really to become this is what St. Thomas says, that in knowing something, and the way I'm talking about, you become the other. You become that reality. And that reality, as you'll learn in the kids' book, has to be supported. It's proved that it has to be supported by what we call the unchangeable changer. God, who is the cause of all change, but himself who cannot change. And as you see that reality is a direct contact in that way with God, because he is the one, as we talk about in the kids' book, he is the one who is. And, you know, I really want to bring home this point that it's not so much of that there's an enemy out there and he's pushing an ideology. That we found the enemy and he is us. He's in each one of us. And we have this bad physics that is our modern physics. It has this good element to, but it's been packed in this hermetically sealed container that's made us mistake the thought for the real. And we have to unpack that, and we have to take time to do that. We have to take time for our kids. You know, and there's 3 books. There's 2 books that I really recommend that you get. The Kids' Introduction to Physics and Beyond, number 1, and number 2, the one that has this baseball theme that talks about these basic things and why we have the things we have. And then the Physics for First Communion, which goes through the teaching my daughter, which you teach your daughter. You know, the audience is your daughter, the listener, how to go through and understand what they're going to be receiving and what that is based on the basic starting point, which is our physics. And then we have audiobooks as well as a great app called Grab That Word, where you can learn this vocabulary, which is the vocabulary of life, you know, substance. You know, you say, this is essential to our world. Well, those types of words come from the physics. They start with the physics. Right. Our physics is bad, and we don't get those words. We don't know what they mean.
Right. Now, if the kids pick up your book, will they learn how to make that motor?
They will learn how to make that motor.
If the kids make that motor, will they get in trouble with their mom?
I hope not.
So
I think their mom will like it.
Oh, boy, it doesn't sound responsible to me.
Nothing will blow up, I promise.
But that's the chemistry department.
That's the chemistry department, that's right. But they'll learn, you know, they'll learn this process that there are, you know, one of the interesting things about electricity is there's things you can't see, but they're still physical things and they act.
Right.
And you see them act, and you can figure out that they're acting one part on the next and causing the motion of this, you know, motor.
This has been one of the amazing realities of the study of physics, that there's so many elements that are absolutely invisible to us,
Yeah. Yeah.
with the naked eye.
Right.
And even with great microscopes and telescopes, there's still an invisible reality. It's hard to catch in the spectrum that we can perceive.
Right, and that's the thing, is that's why it's so important to go back to the cause.
Right.
So if I see something that happens, I look for a cause. And first I look for a physical cause. So that's like infrared. You can't see infrared. There's infrared all over this room. These lights are mostly infrared. You can't see them because your senses aren't wrong, but they're limited. So you only see the visible spectrum.
Right.
But if you have the right physical things, it will react to them. If I had the right kind of paper, it would react to them and change. And I could deduce there's a cause to make that paper change.
And here's the other amazing thing to me, and this is where I was, headed, that while reality is what you can see and touch and understand with your mind, there is the experience that what seems obvious to the naked eye may not be what it seems because of these invisible elements, but you can find out the unseen reality not by guessing or making an act of faith that it exists,
Right.
but you do concrete experiments that deal with these real things, and you can discover
Right.
those. And it's not imposing subatomic particles on the universe.
No.
It's discovering that they are there.
Right, right. And that causal, if you haven't done that causal analysis in physics first, you won't be able to prove the existence of God, and you won't know that there are other things besides the physical world.
And this is going to be one of, especially in today's culture, which ironically tries to sway people by science to deny the existence of God. But it's often, what I'd say, it's an ideological use of science rather than observation.
Well, I would say that there is that, but I want to kind of emphasize my point that I don't think that it's not gotten out there yet, because the Institute for Advanced Physics is the only place on the planet doing this research and understanding this problem of this physics. And we have to get people to see that this is an endemic problem. It's in you, it's in me. It's part of the way we think. And if we accept the physics we've been given, like the mechanism we were just talking about, they're right. There is no God, there is no world, it's all in me. So the logic that they're using, I mean, even the people that aren't pushing an agenda, they're right. Until we change our physics, the proofs that we're talking about don't work. And there's been huge controversies in the past about this. And Thomism, people have forgotten that Thomism, this very effect of the misunderstanding of the physics, killed St. Thomas. He was non-existent. Leo XIII had to call for his reinstatement. Because we don't think causally, we don't think about that, right? So Thomas was brought back. That means he must have left.
Yeah.
And so there, that's just 1879 or something that Leo XIII did that.
Yeah,
so we're talking.
Thomas has had his ups and downs.
Right, but there's been only downs until Leo XIII, and then after Vatican II, unfortunately, it's been a continual down in terms of the larger, even the Catholic appreciation of the importance of his thinking. And that's because he starts with this very basic physics that everybody can figure out if they just look.
Yep. All right. You can find out more about the Institute for Advanced Physics by going to their website, which is iapweb.org. iapweb.org. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. We want to get some of your questions and comments, as well as those of our studio audience, so please stay with us. Welcome back with Dr. Anthony Rizzi talking about his new book on a kid's introduction to physics and beyond, Volume 2. Now, this is pretty good because they're short volumes, but that's what physics does, sort of condenses things. Let's take a question from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
I'm from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Great, a very, very famous town.
Yes.
And for those who have not been there to do the tour of the battlefield, definitely should go. It's
Absolutely.
One
And
of
go
the
to the
best.
new center as well. They've redone it all. It's great.
Oh, good.
The new visitor center.
excellent. So what's your question?
When things are so ingrained within us because we've been raised without that proper understanding of physics, how do we change how we think? I mean, it's such a part of us.
Yeah.
What can we do?
Yeah, that's a really good question because it is, learning comes, I like to say, in 4 steps. The first step is to hear it and understand it. The second step is to run it around your mind until it sort of can sit there and you can think about it. And the third step is, what good is this for me to understand other things and to do things with? That's the third step. And then how do I do that is step 3B. There's A and B. But then step 4 is to practice it until you're good at it. So, it's one thing to learn the piano theory and to have a coach to help you with the theory, but it's another thing to practice until you just are good at it. So you kind of have to reverse the process. We've been taught 1, 2, 3, 4 with the wrong thing, so we have to deliberately go back 1, 2, 3, 4 with the right thing. Because what we often don't understand about ourselves is kind of what you're saying. It's ingrained in us. It's a habit. So that's, what that's called? It's called a vice. If we have a bad habit of thinking about something, if we have a falsehood ingrained in our being, in our emotions, then that's a vice. Learning the physics, for example, is to get the virtue of that physics. So like learning the piano is the virtue of being able to play the piano well. So you want to recognize, just like you said, you have an ingrained in our feeling, oh, that's fine. And that's bad, because that's a vice, right? If error hits me in the head and I go, oh, that's pretty good, then there's something wrong with me. So the first step is to recognize it, but then the second step is to be patient with ourselves and walk ourselves, okay, what's the new principle, and start one principle at a time, and just reconcile that it takes some time. You're not going to undo habits in a moment. And that be aware that prayer and the sacraments, that's what they're there for, is for us to see truths, and then he gives us the power to go through it. And those are the little crosses that he puts in front of us that are the actual crosses that we know we have to do. When there's a truth that's essential truth, we know whatever it takes to get there is something we have to do as against our ingrained habits as it might be. So that's the thing, is to begin to get that habit again, and just realize what you just said. It is an ingrained thing. So now you have to deliberately go and work against that. It's like a person who's learned to play the piano clumsily. Now he wants to go back and really get it right. He's going to be a lot harder, but he can do it. Does that?
Great. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So you can't teach an old dog.
You can teach anybody. That's right.
Great.
And, I always like to point out that when you're working with children, as I'm sure you know, children help us through that process because they're always very inquisitive and they're always asking the questions that we may not think of, and they're so open and they're so excited that they renew our enthusiasm.
Yep. We have a caller online. Hello, Thomas?
Yes, Father.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you, Father?
Fine, thank you, sir. And
Good.
what is your question tonight?
I have a
from
question
way
for
up and
Dr. Rizzi.
go ahead.
Okay. Jesus said in John, the Gospel of John, I am the way, the truth, and the life. We as Catholics believe that we have the fullness of truth. Dr. Rizzi, would you define what we mean when we say the fullness of truth?
Sure. So to answer his question, first we'd have to define truth, right? Mm-hmm. So truth is the conformity of the mind with reality. And the fact that we haven't really thought about that is part of the bad physics that we have, that we don't. And so that starts with the understanding of the physical world. and the church has always been, and as you know, Father, the Jesuits are really strong in this, been an advocate of science. In fact, science came out of the Catholic Church. And it's because, you know, over the top of the Vatican Observatory, that when you walk in there, you read this quote about, I forget exactly how it goes. I don't know if you know the quote, but it's about, you know, basically, you know, entering this place is like entering Bethlehem, because wherever there is reality, there you are contacting the creator of that reality. And so it's very imbued in the Catholic Church that you start with your senses. You start with the physics. I always say that Catholicism is a physics-first religion. So it starts there, and it's always seeking to improve and grow in that. And then the Church is always taking us to the metaphysical, which is, you know, God, of course, himself, who's truth himself. And then to our understanding our own nature as having a core immaterial part to ourselves, which I cover in the Science Before Science. And then deepening that understanding, which is called metaphysics. And in all the sciences, you know, properly speaking, all the sciences. And then you get to theology, which takes us to knowledge that can only be had by the help of God through his grace and the act of faith, that we can see things that are beyond reason. But those things bring us back, and they enlighten the world that we see. And then enlightening that world, they take us back to better see what God has revealed to us. And that's the fullness of truth that the Church herself is constantly deepening. Not that anything's changing, but deepening, more understanding through time.
It's a deepening because it's a conforming to the reality.
More deepened conformity, a more deep conformity. So, for example, in the Eucharist, we have a better understanding because of St. Thomas than Paul himself did of the Eucharist. Because the Church digested that knowledge and deepened that knowledge beyond what the apostles even understood. They understood it rudimentary, but the deeper knowledge, and that's the fullness of the Church that the Church is always growing in and won't be complete in until we get to the beatific vision, where we can see truth himself directly.
And this is going to be the ongoing understanding of truth. Our Lord also said, not too far after, that's in John 14:6, not too far after that, he said that the Spirit of truth will lead you into all truth. That there is this fullness of truth, and yet there's a deepening conformity to it. This also becomes an issue in the way that we understand Christianity. Some folks would like Christianity to be malleable, that you can adapt it to reality as you perceive it. I never will forget getting into an argument with one of the New Testament professors in seminary who said, well, folks can't relate to a family where the mother is a virgin, the father is chaste, and the son is God. So we have to drop the doctrine of the virgin birth. This is what the professor said. And this is, and he then tried to say that, well, the New Testament doesn't teach that Mary was a virgin, so you don't have to believe it. Well, there's nothing like taking a look at the thing itself. This is what you're talking about. So I took a look with him and the other guys sitting around and said, what part of Parthenos does not mean virgin? And as a matter of fact, the reality is that a mother who's a virgin, a son who's God, and a chaste husband was never meant to be an everyday experience. But you conform to what it is, and you accept the reality that's been revealed, rather than say, well, we have so many changes in family, we'll just change the doctrine. That's not how you can do physics. Well, people don't like quantum stuff.
Yeah.
So quantum is just a hard word. So
Yeah.
we won't use quantum mechanics. Would that be acceptable?
Well, no, I mean, that's the whole point. But, you know, to go back to the deeper point that truth is the conformity of the mind to reality.
Right.
And we have to get these basic things that we see first. Otherwise, we're going to be susceptible to just inventing what we want.
Exactly.
And creating a fairy tale to meet our own fantasy wishes, which are not going to be healthy and not going to make us happy, really, in the long run.
Right.
And so we have to get the realization that we've lost those things, first of all. And, you know, for example, the thinking of today's physics that everyone has absorbed is that you have atoms and then you have nothing between them. Space, that's nothing. Space is nothing.
Yeah.
And so what does that do with the atoms? Like here in the room, there's molecules and then there's space in between. If that space is what we think, the vacuum, which means nothing, if it's nothing, then this atom and this atom aren't even in the same universe. You're not, all your pieces are not even in the same universe. You can't
That's
be
been
a
said to me before.
and that is the back of our mind. That's the thinking we have in the back of our mind that's built all the, you know, things that are a little cockeyed and sometimes a lot cockeyed that we have to straighten out. And that's what the books help you do. That's what the thinking we're talking about now helps you do. And that's, you know, to go back to the man's question, the fullness of truth starts with the physics, and then it ends in the highest place, what God has given us the privilege to give us the faith. But if we don't have the physics, you don't get the faith. I like to tell people, you know, there is no salvation without math, because one of the doctrines of the faith that's essential to the faith is the Trinity. If you don't know three, you can't even understand the doctrine, let alone accept it.
Right.
It's a simple kind of math, but this is what the way all things work is you start with something in the physical world, simple at first, and that gets specified as you move along. But you can say things already with very general statements. God can tell you things already, but if you don't know those things, you know, he may as well be speaking gibberish.
Right. Now, one question, we had somebody who was here that had this question. You used the word substance. And in fact, in the creed that we proclaim at Mass, we use the word substance.
Yes.
The creed proclaims, going back to the Council of Nicaea, that Jesus is consubstantial with the Father. What does substance mean?
This is a really good point. I'm glad that this was brought up because, first of all, we got to point out that that didn't used to be in the English translation of the Creed. Pope Benedict put it back because the word substance, which is a physical concept, had been so wiped out that nobody's going to know what that means. But Pope Benedict rightly realized that not having that there denies the doctrine.
Yep.
And that goes to the point that you can't have the faith without a proper physics. You can't have classical curriculum without the physics, because none of that makes any sense. And so the fact that he asked the question, what is substance, shows that we've missed a key physical concept that's back behind everything. So a substance is simply something that has its own existence, that's distinguished from a property because properties come out of substances.
Okay,
So I have
an example.
So you're a single substance. I'm a single substance. And there's properties. You have certain properties. You have the power to think. You have the power to feel, touch. You have a certain skin color, certain property of skin color that comes out of your particular nature.
But that's not the essence of who I, or the substance of what I am, is my skin color, for instance.
No, but the property, it's a property
Right.
that comes out of the substance. Properties exist in a substance, and substances are the things that have their own existence. So you have to look, and it's actually, you know, I've had this discussion with multiple people. It's really surprising to see how few people think that anything is a substance. And the point is that you have to look for the unity of the thing, and in that unity you see the nature. So a lot of times when people want to talk about sex, for example, they bring up the XY chromosomes like we were talking about, which is fine, but the tendency is to identify that with the thing. Well, that's a property of the essence of the thing is a principled core from which the thing, all the properties come. And they're distinct. And so substance is, just to say it again, it's in the kids' book. You need to study it. It's not going to come just magically. It's not hard. Kids will get it faster than us. But it's something that has its own existence in which properties come out of. And, and when you study the Eucharist, you'll see immediately that you aren't going to understand the Eucharist without this. That's what the Physics for First Communion will do for you. It'll show you just that meaning of substance, that we don't have it. And I tell you, we do webinars for teachers and teachers in classical curriculum, and none of them know this. And one woman in particular had made it very clear. All of them did, but she made it very clear. I thought of the Eucharist in this other way in which it was wrong. And she said it didn't make any sense to me, so she really didn't have the doctrine.
Right. This is exactly because we believe in transubstantiation. Yeah. If you don't know what a substance is, then you don't know what that trans-substance process is.
Right.
That it's this thing in itself, this bread, that then becomes a very different substance.
But the properties of the bread remain.
Right.
And if you don't make that distinction, then you won't understand it. You won't understand what God's saying. You'll think he's saying something irrational.
Yep.
Impossible.
Yep. And sometimes that's exactly what people try to do to ridicule the faith. They won't explain the understanding of a substance.
Because they don't know it.
No.
We can't answer back. I saw a bishop on TV suffering from this same problem. He was talking to Dawkins, and Dawkins
Dawkins likes doing that, yeah.
But Dawkins was exactly right, because he was holding the concept, the non-existence of substance like we all do. I mean, the gentleman that asked the question is a good Catholic. Being a good Catholic is not divorced from not knowing the physics, as we're all susceptible to it. And so the bishop didn't know it. So when Dawkins said these things, he didn't have the ability to answer him. And so Dawkins destroyed him, because Dawkins was coming from the principles that the bishop had habituated. And so he tried to bring up Thomas, but he just didn't understand it in a lived way, so he couldn't answer it in any way that made any sense. In fact, I know the bishop, he is not a person that wanted to deny, but he ended up, believe it or not, it was scary, because he accidentally denied the reality of the transubstantiation. And then he quickly caught himself, but that's what happens when you're not ready for the enemy.
Right.
You've got to understand, you've got to be ready to give the reason for the hope within you.
Yeah. Exactly. This is, St. Peter said that in his first epistle, chapter 3, verse 15. Preach that gospel. All right. Again, you can learn more about these things at the Institute for Advanced Physics. Their website is iapweb.org. And of course, you can get Dr. Anthony Rizzi's books and DVD series, The Science Before Science, at Religious Catalog. Just go to EWTNRC.com, and you can get his various books, including the 2-volume books, the Kid's Introduction to Physics and Beyond, Volume 1 and Volume 2. It's at the website of Institute for Advanced Physics, which again is iapweb.org. And this would be a great thing and some good projects to do with your kids. Thank you for being with us, and may the Lord bless all of you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And of course, we can keep doing this show and all the other programs that we do only because the network is brought to you by you. That's how our Lord inspired Mother Angelica to have this run. No advertising and stuff, but have it run by you. So keep us in between your gas bill, your electric bill, and cable bill, and we will pay our bills too. Thank you.